Case number 22-50073, Ho Wan Kwok.
Okay, good morning. If we could have appearances for the record, please, starting with the Debtors' Counsel.
Good morning, Your Honor. William Baldigan, Brown Rudnick, for the debtor.
Good morning. Counsel for PACS, please.
Good morning, Your Honor. Peter Friedman from Melvin and Myers on behalf of Pacific Alliance Group. I see Mr. Sarnoff and Mr. Bernie of the Robinson Cole firm as well this morning on behalf of PACS.
Good morning. Counsel for the Creditors Committee.
Good morning, Your Honor. Irv Goldman, Pullman and Conley, representing the Creditors Committee.
Good morning. Counsel for Rue Ma.
Good morning, Your Honor. Kristen Mayhew, McElroy, Deutsch, Mulvaney, and Carpenter on behalf of creditors Rue Ma, Zhang Wu, and Weekend Meng.
Good morning. The Office of the United States Trustee.
Good morning, Your Honor. Holly Claiborne for the U.S. Trustee. And also with me this morning is the Chapter 11 Trustee candidate, Attorney Luc Depont.
Good morning. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Okay. I also see counsel for HK International.
Yes, Your Honor. Good morning. Stephen Kinsett, Zeisler & Zeisler for HK International Funds Investments.
Good morning. And Attorney Woolman? I see you.
Good morning, Your
so
Honor.
I didn't forget to say hello, but I often, for sometimes the screen cuts you off for some reason, but I see you this morning, so go right ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning. This is Jay Woolman of Randazzo Legal Group for creditor Logan Chang.
Good morning. So I think that's everyone that I see anyway has noted their appearance. Is that correct? Okay. So we'll proceed with this hearing this morning on the United States Trustees motion application for the order approving the United States Trustees appointment of a Chapter 11 trustee. Attorney Claiborne, you please proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning. Before the court this morning is the United States Trustees application for an order approving the appointment of Mr. Dupont as the Chapter 11 trustee. Mr. Dupont has a significant Chapter 11 history practice in his firm and in his past. Has been a member of the bar for over 30 years. And the U.S. trustee has attached to the application a declaration of disinterestedness, which sets forth his connections and his contacts with various parties in this case and with creditors and with the debtor. And based upon that, as U.S. trustees requested the court approve the application this morning. I do, however, want to bring to the court's attention that this morning we learned that there are some additional disclosures that need to be made and will be made by Attorney Dupont as to connections with entities that are connected to, we believe, PACS. And Mr. Dupont can put a finer point on that and address the court and explain. And again, that will be followed by a supplemental disclosure that will be filed with the court as soon as possible. And the hope is that it's within a matter of just a day or two. So with that, Your Honor, if I could ask Mr. Dupont to address the court about the supplemental disclosures that are not yet before the court in writing.
Yes, please. Go right ahead.
Good morning, Your Honor. As I stated in paragraph 11 of my declaration, I said that to the extent we learn of new connections that were not known to us at the time I submitted the declaration, we would update our disclosure statement, and I will do that in writing, but I wanted to make sure today that I mentioned to the court that we've discovered last night that we have in the past represented entities that have the acronym PAG in them, PAG. Unbeknownst to our conflict system, PAG means Pacific Asia Group, and those entities, and again, as I said, these are representations that were completed, but these entities are unrelated to the Quoc matter in any way. However, PACS is probably managed by a similar or a PAG entity of some kind. We're trying to figure out exactly which one, but doesn't change anything from our point of view in the sense that we still believe we're disinterested. We can be adverse to PACS, not that we're seeking that, but we can be adverse to PACS, and therefore it doesn't change the declaration. But given that these PAG entities are somehow related to PACS, I wanted to bring that to the attention of the court early on this morning. And I did, by the way, not only with the U.S. trustee, but I mentioned this to Mr. Friedman, around 8:45 this morning.
Okay, thank you. And when you say we, you're speaking of the firm of Paul Hastings.
Yes. But personally, I've never had any representation of PAG. I didn't even know it existed, frankly, until last night.
Understood. That obviously with the firm having offices in different areas of the world, that's why I was asking to make sure when you said we, you mean Paul Hastings, not you individually.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. I see a gentleman, Mr. Bassett. Are you a counsel in this case? I don't recognize you, and I'm sorry if I should, but I don't.
Your Honor, I'm with Paul Hastings,
Okay.
and would be serving as counsel to Mr. Dupin in his capacity as trustee.
Okay, well, Mr. Dupin, I don't think you need to file an appearance because you're the Chapter 11 trustee. If Mr. Bassett and or your firm is going to be proposed to be counsel to you, acting as the Chapter 11 trustee, as you know, you'll have to file an application, and Mr. Bassett and any other members of Paul Hastings will have to file notices of appearance and or pro hoc motions depending upon whether they're admitted to the District Court of Connecticut, and you'll take care of that. So that's why I didn't recognize Mr. Bassett. You haven't been involved in any of the other hearings, so I'm glad at least that I was correct that I hadn't seen you before. But in any event, with regard to the United States trustees' application for an order approving the appointment of the Chapter 11 trustee, does any party wish to be heard?
Your Honor, it's Peter Friedman from Albany. We don't have an issue directly with Mr. Dupin. As Mr. Dupin just mentioned, he disclosed at 8:45 this morning that his firm had some involvement with the parent of our client, which I think is actually the correct terminology for that is Pacific Alliance Group, which is slightly different than our fund, Pacific Asia Opportunity Fund. But we do obviously need to consult with our client as to the nature of the relationship. I'm not saying that there is an issue. It is midnight or 10 p.m. in Hong Kong already, which is where our client is located. And to the extent that our client needs to look at any files, I don't know if that's doable over the weekend, but I think that might be a Paul Hastings issue as opposed to a trustee issue. But this is a late-breaking development, and like I said, I can't say it's a concern, but I do think it's important to mention to the court in this context that it's just something that we'll have to look at in the context of the retention of Paul Hastings. Your Honor, I think just as I've said at every hearing, we will be constructive. We will work closely with Mr. Dupin, who I have encountered over the years in other Chapter 11 cases. Have high respect for Mr. Dupin, who is counsel to the Creditors Committee in Puerto Rico, where I represent the debtor. So I've been adverse to him and on the same side of the V as him over the last 5 years. We are concerned about expense. We will do everything we can, and we hope everything can be done by Mr. Dupin and Paul Hastings to, especially in light of the circumstances of this debtor having very limited readily available funds. Really hope that there will be, as much cost efficiency as possible given the size of the estate at current. And, with those comments, we look forward to hopefully a successful trustee appointment. And if there are issues relating to past either retention or employment of Paul Hastings by our client, we will obviously have to address those in the future.
Okay, thank you, Attorney Friedman. Does anyone else wish to be heard?
Your Honor, Irv Goldman for the committee. This is the first time I'm hearing about this additional disclosure. I would have the same caveat as Mr. Friedman and would hope that he would share his diligence with the committee so we can take a closer look and evaluate this additional connection. We're not looking to upset this appointment, but just with the same ideas Mr. Friedman articulated, we just want to consider it further.
Well, do you agree that it's an issue with regard, as Attorney Friedman said, that it would be an issue with regard to the retention of Paul Hastings as counsel versus Mr. Dupin as Chapter 11 trustee?
Yes, I do. He made it clear that he had no connection, wasn't even aware of the existence of this entity. So with that, I agree it's a retention issue.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone else wish to be heard?
Yes, Your Honor. William Baldigan, Brown Rudnick for the debtor.
Go right ahead.
We have the same qualification concern. We share at Brown Rudnick great respect for Paul Hastings and Mr. Dupin more specifically, but we will need to understand the new disclosures exactly, given that PAG is the business behind the fund, which is PAX, and PAX is obviously the largest creditor by far of the estate. So I think we all need to understand that.
Do you, Mr. Baldiga, agree with what the question I just asked Attorney Goldman then? Is your concern more with regard to Paul Hastings being retained as counsel and not with Mr. Dupin serving as the Chapter 11 trustee, or do you have a concern even with Mr. Dupin serving as the Chapter 11 trustee?
I don't know yet. I think I'm not sure we're going to have any concerns, but to the extent we do, I think it's premature to assess what those would be exactly until we see the disclosure and have an opportunity to talk to the client about that.
Well, and that's fine because the Bankruptcy Code has provisions with regard to if someone thought that the trustee as appointed should no longer serve as the trustee. So I do not see an impediment to the appointment of Mr. Dupin as the Chapter 11 trustee today, unless someone wants to persuade me otherwise.
We just haven't seen anything, so it's hard to do a persuasive argument, Your Honor, with just finding out about this during the course of the hearing.
I understand. I do understand what you're saying, but I'm talking about right now, today. The only thing before the court is the appointment of Mr. Dupin as the Chapter 11 trustee. And no one has put forth any reason at this point as to why that should not occur.